This video is an audio recording of our reading group reading and discussing On the Correct Handling of Contradictions Among the People, Chapter 10, Can Bad Things Be Turned into Good Things? Our reading groups are open to the public and we encourage discussion of any ideas people bring to the table, but this also means some of the ideas expressed in this discussion might not reflect the actual views of our party on any level. With that said, we hope you enjoy our reading and discussion of Chapter 10, Can Bad Things Be Turned into Good Things?
Chapter 10, Can Bad Things Be Turned into Good Things? In our society, as I have said, disturbances by the masses are bad, and we do not approve of them. But when disturbances do occur, they enable us to learn lessons, to overcome bureaucracy, and to educate the cadres and the masses. In this sense, bad things can be turned into good things. Disturbances thus have a dual character. Every disturbance can be regarded in this way. Everyone knows that the Hungarian incident was not a good thing. The Hungarian incident, by the way, is when there was an attempted color revolution in Hungary. Some students tried to overthrow the democratic government of Hungary, and the Soviets had to intervene to help the Hungarians put down the uprising.
Yeah, right, Tanky.
Everybody knows that the Hungarian incident was not a good thing, but it too has a dual character. Because our Hungarian comrades took proper action in the course of the incident, what was a bad thing was eventually turned into a good one. Hungary is now more consolidated than ever, and all other countries in the socialist camp have also learned a lesson. Similarly, the worldwide campaign against communism and the people which took place in the latter half of 1956 was of course a bad thing, but it served to educate and temper the communist parties and the working class in all countries, and thus it has turned into a good thing. In the storm and stress of this period, a number of people in many countries withdrew from the Communist Party. Withdrawal from the party reduces its membership and is, of course, a bad thing. But there is a good side to it, too. Vacillating elements who are unwilling to carry on have withdrawn, and the vast majority who are staunch party members can be better united for struggle. Why isn't this a good thing? To sum up, we must learn to look at problems from all sides, seeing the reverse as well as the obverse side of things. In given conditions, a bad thing can lead to good results and a good thing to bad results. More than 2,000 years ago, Lao Tzu said, "Good fortune lieth within bad, bad fortune lurketh within good." When the Japanese shot their way into China, they called this a victory. Huge parts of China's territory were seized, and the Chinese called this a defeat. But victory was conceived in China's defeat, while defeat was conceived in Japan's victory. Hasn't history proven this true? People all over the world are now discussing whether or not a third world war will break out. On this question, too, we must be mentally prepared and do some analysis. We stand firmly for peace and against war. But if the imperialists insist on unleashing another war, we should not be afraid of it. Our attitude on the question is the same as our attitude towards any disturbance. First, we are against it. Second, we are not afraid of it. The First World War was followed by the birth of the Soviet Union with a population of 200 million. The Second World War was followed by the emergence of the socialist camp with a combined population of 900 million. If the imperialists insist on launching a third world war, it is certain that several hundred million more will turn to socialism, and then there will not be much room left on the earth for imperialists. It is also likely that the whole structure of imperialism will completely collapse. In given conditions, each of the two opposing aspects of a contradiction invariably transforms itself into its opposite as a result of the struggle between them. Here it is the conditions which are essential. Without the given conditions, neither of the two contradictory aspects can transform itself into its opposite. Of all the classes in the world, the proletariat is one which is most eager to change its position, and next comes the semi-proletariat, which is the term used for like peasants, like gig workers, just those that do not have the same exact relation to the means of production as the peasants, but are still considered toilers. And next comes the semi-proletariat, for the former possesses nothing at all, while the latter is hardly any better off. The United States now controls the majority of the United Nations and dominates many parts of the world. This state of affairs is temporary and will be changed one of these days. in China's position as a poor country, denied its rights in international affairs, will also be changed. The poor country will change into a rich one, and the country denied its rights into one enjoying them. A transformation of things into their opposites. Here, the decisive conditions are the socialist system and the concerted efforts of a united people. So for the discussion question with this chapter, I wanted to ask, what are some examples that we have faced in our own organizing or just in our own lives in which we turned bad things into good things?
Relatively recently, there was what I would consider a complication in communication between myself and another comrade. And ultimately, I wish that my other comrades would have stood up for me. But the comrade who I had that complication with apologized to me, and we came to a thorough understanding. And I really appreciated that of him. But I do wish the collective of our party would have said something instead of pretending the situation didn't happen. But because of this, I don't know if I'd call it a bad thing. I'd say complication. We are now having this conversation instead of this conversation happening later. And as such, we can move forward sooner.
Mm-hmm. I also included what I believe is the same event. What I said about that is that recently a comrade was frustrated with another comrade and acted uncomradely towards them in response in our group chat. This was bad because it threatened to create disunity in our local party unit. A comrade that had been inactive observed the event in the group chat and left the party because of it. And the comrade that had been at the receiving end of this behavior took a fortunately temporary hit to their belief in their own ability to be a useful comrade. However, it was turned into a good thing in multiple areas. First, we were able to use it as the basis of an educational discussion on combating liberalism and the importance of self-reflection, which was able to turn the potential disunity into an even stronger unity than before. Second, it rid us of a vacillating member that wasn't contributing in any way, yet would judge the entire party based on the behaviors of an individual. Third, the comrade that was on the receiving end of the uncomradely behavior has done an amazing job in themselves turning this bad thing into a good thing, having done self-reflection and learning, and is now a better comrade for it. Finally, the comrade that acted uncomradely has also learned from this experience, done self-reflecting, and has taken efforts to reform so this doesn't happen again in the future, and is therefore also a much better comrade now for it.
I would like to add real quick as the receiving end that the comrade with whom I was speaking, he was making valid points. What he said about my performance as it relates to the party was reasonable and rational and was grounded. It was on the basis of my participation being lackluster, which it is, and to a degree, it still is. Ultimately, it was more so the delivery that was uncomradely or uncomradely, whatever.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what he was saying was grounded in reason, and I want to point that out. It wasn't just like a I was the victim situation.
I would agree with most of that.
So just wanted to add that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to turn our discussion of this text further towards a discussion of our intra-party dynamics, but I do want to say, as someone who observed everything and was kind of a third-party observer to all that, I appreciate how everyone handled that. I had very little to do with all of that. I was busy when everything happened, and I was just kind of observing in the chat, but I went to the meeting afterward where we had the educational discussion, and it's I think in a way it's just like with any relationships of any kind. Sometimes there's going to be friction and conflict, and the secret is how you address it. It's best to do that in a way that is not damaging in the long term, and I'm really glad to hear that everyone who is directly involved in that feels that the matter has been put to rest and we have moved on as a club, as a group. So congratulations to all of you guys, and again, I'm very happy that happened.
Mm-hmm. Any
Me
other
too.
examples? Yes. Any other examples that we've faced in our own organizing or in our lives that we've turned bad things into good things?
I don't know if this counts, but the very first food kitchen we did
Mm-hmm.
in February this year, where it was freezing,
Mm-hmm.
and dark.
Mm-hmm.
And we were out there for several hours, and that kind of sucked, but in the end, it was definitely worth it because we helped out a lot of people. There was a
Sure.
lady who had no shoes, and we were able to, get a bunch of blankets on her and sit her in my heated car and, help her out.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm turning being out in the cold weather from a bad thing into a good thing.
I mean, yeah, it was physically uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but it was definitely worth it.
Sure. Most of y'all probably weren't really involved in the party at this point yet, but
That's that thing. Okay.
our first community survey in 2024 was a complete failure, and we didn't have anyone to go out to canvass over the entire course of the survey. This was obviously a bad thing. However, we turned it into a good thing by asking our membership why they never went out to conduct the community survey and what changes might have helped them get out more. We determined we needed to make the survey shorter and less complicated to make it easier to conduct. We also determined that we needed to have scheduled and coordinated days to go canvassing as a group. We implemented these changes into our 2025 community survey and have had much better results than last year, although things can still be improved.
I'm just curious, what did you determine was, like, in terms of logistics and overcomplication of those initial surveys? What did you determine was too much?
I can show you what we had as the survey. Yeah,
Oh, it was
So the
huge.
survey was long?
long and confusing and complicated.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. We had a number scale that was 1 to 7.
The Kinsey scale.
What we were trying to do was get people to like rank something, but like it didn't turn out well. I can show you exactly what it was going on with it sometime, but
I mean, I believe you.
yeah. Any final thoughts on this section?
I think in revolution and revolution building, as in many things in life, communication is key.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you for the good discussion. We will move on to the next, not chapter, but supplementary discussion.
Thank you for watching this recording of our reading group, and thank you to everyone that attended. We hope you got something out of this. Please note this video is one of 3 discussions from our last reading group. Video recordings are now available summarizing Chapter 9, Chapter 10, as well as a supplemental discussion to provide historical context for this book. Our next reading group will take place on Tuesday, November 25th, covering Chapters 11 and 12, plus another supplemental discussion to cover Marxist economics and industrial development. In this, we will turn bad things into good things by learning from the experience of our Chinese comrades so we don't make the same mistakes ourselves. If you enjoyed this video and would like to attend a reading group live, feel free to reach out to us via email at milwaukee@cpusa.org, DM us on any of our social media pages, or come say hi at any event we're attending. Our reading groups are hybrid meetings with both in-person and virtual options, and we'd love to see more of the community attend in whatever form they can. Solidarity, everyone, and see you next time with Chapter 11 on Practicing Economy.